Welcome to Guerilla Sports Off Court. I'm your host, Liv Moods, and in just a bit, I'll be joined by Brandon Krisztal. But for now, this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. Just head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome in, everybody. This is another episode of Guerilla Sports Off Court. I am going to get on to the Twitter sphere here and let everybody know that we are live. I will start the show by saying this. This is also Brandon Krisztal, by the way. BK, you know him. We're going to be talking a little bit of Nuggets today, as the Nuggets are on the road taking on the Utah Jazz tonight. And most recently, we saw them play against the Detroit Pistons on Saturday. They got a dub there, 134-121. And honestly, today's show, there's going to be a lot of positivity, BK. Typically, we're talking about the things we want to see differently from this Nuggets team, the things that we want them to improve upon. And while we still will discuss those things, of course, because no team is perfect, and in order for this Nuggets team to be a true contender, there are still some very big things that need to be addressed. But for the most part, very pleased with that Pistons game. BK, I'm not sure how you're feeling, but I'm loving seeing Jamal Murray scoring 34 points and going 4 of 7 from the three-point line. I love that. Of course, Nikola Jokic, 37 points for him, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. He was obviously a little shy of a triple-double, but 37 points, wildly impressive. And then MPJ, who has had trade rumors swirling around his head for some time now, 26 points for him. This is all without Aaron Gordon, so you had Russell Westbrook and CB in the starting lineup. Russell Westbrook did not do a whole lot offensively, but did have 9 rebounds, 7 of which were defensive, 8 assists, 2 steals by him. Unfortunately, those 6 turnovers are kind of the one thing that with Russell Westbrook's game right now, he brings a lot to this Nuggets team. But in terms of protecting the ball, he does struggle a little bit because he's got a very chaotic ball handling style that he's always had. And it's very, very fun to watch, but can be detrimental in terms of turnovers. So overall, all of our starters in the plus minus in this game, they were in the plus. Felt really good about what we saw against the Pistons, BK. How did you feel?
Yeah, and the Pistons are improved. Their record, certainly not anything to write home about. But coming off a tough loss to the best team in basketball record-wise, it was a good bounce back. You're at home. It's also funny, though, because Detroit had played, I think, Thursday. So you're playing a game, and they're just hanging out. It's not as bad as when you're playing a game in another city, and the team you're about to play the next night is in your town waiting for you. But the Pistons at the hotel or around town having dinner while the Nuggets are slugging it out with the Cavs. So to be able to bounce back, I think you got to feel good about it. And Cade Cunningham had a good game. He didn't go nuts.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. With no Aaron Gordon right now, you need a little more from Jamal Murray. And we've needed a little more from Jamal Murray in general. As I mentioned last week, though, when we were doing the show earlier in the week, Jamal's game log isn't terrible. You just need to see more, and you do need some 30-point games here and there.
Absolutely.
You don't need 34 every night. It'd be nice, but it's just not going to happen.
I don't need that. I don't need that every night. What I need from Jamal is that thing that makes him so different. When he gets hot, there's nobody like Jamal Murray. We had just gone about 25 games before we really saw him get hot. And of course, there is the narrative that surrounds the All-Star break, right? That after the All-Star break, these players start to dig deep a little bit more. They're taking these games a little bit more seriously. They're finding ways, and that's all fine and good. But we had also seen from Jamal a Paris performance we weren't super thrilled with, and a postseason performance when that is where you expect his best, where he was struggling. So let's not act like this season his struggles are an isolated incident, because we saw 2 different times, one in the offseason at the Olympics and then also in last year's postseason, where he wasn't the Jamal Murray that we know and love. So this concern has been something that has grown and evolved over time. It's not like Nuggets fans all of a sudden to start the season just said, Jamal's going to lay a stinker. He's not going to have a great season. No, these are things that we had seen. And then, of course, after the postseason, you're like, okay, well, hopefully in Paris, we see him get back into form a little bit more now that he's not injured. Well, we didn't see that. And then we saw a very slow start from him to begin the regular season this year. So it is very fair for fans to have been worried about Jamal Murray. And so when you see him in a post-game presser after a 34-point performance, kind of alluding to the fact that, yeah, I just let people talk, I'm not worried about what they have to say. Well, maybe sometimes you should be, because I do think that most of the Nuggets fans that were worried about Jamal Murray's poor performances were coming from a very good place. It was a growing concern that was it was like a snowball that was getting bigger and bigger as it rolled down the hill. And I don't think Nuggets fans are wrong for being concerned for that time period that they were concerned. Now, when we start seeing these 27-point performances, these 34% performances, that's where we can go, okay, maybe we back off a little bit and we let him play his game because we can see that it's still there. And maybe there was some stuff that this Nuggets team needed to work out with this new starting lineup and with the addition of Russell Westbrook and with Aaron Gordon in and out with injuries. There's a lot of stuff we don't know on the back end of this business that could have been affecting Jamal Murray's game. Absolutely. But I don't think Jamal can't be upset with fans for being concerned when they were, because it was not like it was just 1 or 2 games. It was an extended period of time that we weren't seeing Jamal Murray play good basketball. So now that he is, I'm hoping it's not just the carrot being dangled and we're going to start getting a little bit of that regression. Again, don't expect 34-point performances every single night, but would love to see him. He's just playing with more hustle, which is what we've been talking about with him that has felt like it was lacking. He's just playing with that energy that we know makes him so unstoppable, and I just want to see that continue.
So I'm kind of digging into some of these numbers in recent days. I didn't realize this, but I'm checking out this note as I'm on the NBA's website. The Nuggets starters, and we don't know how long Aaron Gordon's out. They don't think it's going to be as long as last time, but these can kind of linger. Your water's next to that other water.
Oh, thank you.
But they've only played 12 games out of their 30 with all 5 starters. With the imagined starting lineup, projected starting lineup of Jamal, CB, MPJ, and AG, and obviously Joker. So they only played 12, and in those 12, they're 5-7, including the loss on Christmas Day to the Suns after you had just beaten them. They're still playing better, and they have 10 of their 11 games are against teams that are 500 or better. And they aren't home on a stretch, though, where they've only got these 2 road trips, single game road trips at Utah. They've got back-to-back with the Spurs Friday. They're going to be home Wednesday against the Hawks. And then you're home to Wemby and company Friday. Everybody flies as a team. Not really as a team, but they're probably at the airport about the same time. They're taking off in their charters, and they're landing in San Antonio about the same time for Saturday's game in San Antonio. And then you're back for a bunch more home games.
Yeah.
So you've got to stretch, even though they haven't been great at home. They've been solid at home, but not what they have been in previous years, to kind of get right, even with some tougher teams coming in. I think the bigger concern for me is the way they're playing defense. They're allowing 1.6 more possessions per 100 than they did last year to the other team, and 2.8 more 3-pointers a game. So almost 3 more 3-pointers a game. And we know that the league has changed, and that's actually something I wanted to kind of touch on, because it's weird if you're not going to be at every single availability. It's just hard when I'm not only covering the Nuggets, but also covering the Broncos, to be at everything, and then they're on the road. I can't be at those games all the time. So I don't always get to ask Michael Malone questions it's easier after a practice or a shoot around, or even pregame, to ask philosophical questions. And postgame, it's almost always reactive and looking ahead to the next game. But just kind of based on the feel for how that game went with the Cavs, and having a conversation, including with our pal D-Mac, who said on their radio show with Michael Malone, they had asked, do you guys need to shoot more threes? The Nuggets are last in league in threes attempted, and the Cavs are first or second, right up there with the Celtics. But then they made so many in the 2 matchups with Cleveland. You can hear my question to Coach, asking about the evolution of the game and his reaction, because we know that now teams are truly living and dying by the 3. So here was this interaction post game, and I thought Coach gave me a thoughtful answer, all things considered, coming off a tough loss and the timing of it and all that.
Coach, can I ask kind of a philosophical question? Because there's some people who think it's just too much 3-point shooting in general across the league. Is it bad for basketball, or is it just the evolution of the game?
I can't answer that. I think it's each team's got to do what's best for their own team. You know, we're not a volume three-point shooting team. That's not the makeup of our roster, to be quite honest. Their roster, they have that. Is it too much? Is it too little? I don't know. I mean, the game is always changing. With the evolution of the three-point shot, teams are taking more and more because there's more value in them. I mean, there's a big debate right now. I don't give a shit about that debate. I'm trying to coach my team and try to get us to play a lot better than we have been. And it's not going to get any easier. Got a really gritty, tough team in Detroit coming in here tomorrow night that's playing at a high level. So quick turn of the page and let's get ready to go to battle.
It's funny because I'm glad that we ran that clip and we were able to kind of open this conversation, because there was actually something that in that post-game presser, Coach Malone said that I actually did not like and I did not agree with at all. He had mentioned that the makeup of his roster is not built for volume three-point shooting. I call bullshit. Nikola Jokic is leading the league right now in three-point percentage as a center. You have a household name in Michael Porter Jr., who is notoriously known for volume three-point shooting. You've got Jamal Murray, where I get that you lost KCP as a 3-and-D guy, but to say that this is a roster that's not built for volume three-point shooting is absolutely untrue. It's untrue.
Peyton Watson can shoot threes. Russell Westbrook will shoot threes. You'd rather he doesn't. Just
you would rather he doesn't.
Shoot. Aaron Gordon, when he's healthy, he'll knock down corner threes.
Like, I just think that's not. I think a better answer is we have the capability and we're just not seeing it translate right now, which is what we're seeing. But to say this is a roster that's not built for volume three-point shooting, I call BS.
It's the better way that he should have said it, I think, because he tried to couch it there, and I appreciate him giving me at least more of an answer than he's like, I can't answer that, and then he proceeded to try to answer, and he understands. I'm glad that he didn't just dismiss. He understands that philosophically right now across the world of sports, in terms of the conversation, people are trying to determine whether this is better or worse for basketball. The reason I don't have a problem with it stylistically is you have the ability to stop them. You're not just letting them shoot threes. I understand open threes are open threes. There's nothing that stops the Nuggets from playing more physical. And I understand, if you attack the perimeter, then they're going to get by you. Okay, well, then a team like Boston, who certainly has guys that can get to the rack, but they're shooting 53s a game. 53 in their last 3 games, okay? Last year, they shot 42 a game, Boston did, and that was number 1 in the league. So they're shooting 8 more. They're 50.7 through 32 games this year. The Bulls are second. Charlotte's third. He said that Cleveland shoots the most. They might make the most, but Cleveland is 6th on the list. You got to scroll all the way down, though. Denver is dead last at 30 a game. Just ahead of them is Toronto, the Lakers, New Orleans, Indiana, and the Clippers are all 35 or less. They're at 33, 34. Sacramento and Dallas, a handful of New York, Philly are at 35, and then it goes up from there. But that's still 5 more a game when you think about the Nuggets at 3. The Nuggets shoot 3 less than any other team in the league, and that's at the low end. Again, with the Celtics shooting 50 a game. You have to have good shooters. You have to guys willing to shoot, because if you're just shooting to shoot, and I'm sure plenty of high school teams.
But they do have shooters. I
agree with you. So I think that.
And again, why would they take shots if their own coach believes they're not a team built for volume three-point shooting? They are. They're just not doing that.
I think what he left out of that, it wasn't about how the roster's built as much as their philosophy is we're going to run everything.
Fine. I wish he would have used that word, I guess.
Inside out, essentially.
Totally.
And to say inside out isn't 100% accurate in that they're not dumping it into Nikola to then set their offense. Yes, he runs the chunk of their offense, a great portion of it goes through Nikola, and his touch rate, which I guess they can call usage rate, but he doesn't hold the ball. He touches the ball, I think, upwards of 500 more times a season than whoever's second.
Yeah.
But unlike, say, Melo, who was here, James Harden, Russ in his heyday, Luka at times, the ball doesn't die with Joker. He's touching it and it's moving. So he's touching it more than everybody else because you want it going to him, knowing that he's the ultimate problem solver, and they're able to just run really good offense. And I can look it up, but I'm pretty sure they're the best in the paint. So that's the trade-off. But you are trading 2s for 3s, so you have to defend better. I asked Jamal, how do you defend the 3 better? Understanding effort's a part of it, but he said in general, we can be more aggressive. And he said foul. He's like, well, not foul, but be more physical.
Yeah.
And push them off their spots. Don't let them settle.
And we know that's what Aaron Gordon brings. And of course, when he's out, there has to be some type of compensation for him not being there because he does play that very physical game, goes body to body with just about anybody in the league, has no fear in doing so, which is why his body can get pretty banged up at times because he does play such a physical basketball, physical game of basketball. So when you don't have Aaron Gordon, to your point, you got to find somebody else that can bring that physicality. And I think you've got it in Russ. Can I say this? Because I have noticed this over the last few games, and I've noticed it a lot, but like as of late, outside of Russell Westbrook, if there was I know they do the DOP or DPOG chain for defensive player of the game, they should do a hustler chain. And it would probably likely either belong to Russell Westbrook or Julian Strawther plays his ass off. I mean, all the time. It feels like he is just foot on gas at all times. He's not afraid to be diving into the crowd to save a ball that's out of bounds. Like he plays tough and he plays hard. And so I've been really loving what he brings to the table from a physicality standpoint. Now, maybe defensively, we work on that tiny little bit, but that hustle that he brings, I love.
Defense so often is about effort.
Yes.
The communication piece matters, especially against good offenses in the NBA. The ball's going to move. And they will certainly find open three-point shooters, but you'll also find good cutters and all of that. The Nuggets are the best passing team in the league. They average the most assists, and they are the best team in the paint in general. Memphis right now is a tick above them at 57.4 points in the paint to the Nuggets 56. Last year, though, the Nuggets averaged almost 53. That was top 5 in the league in the paint. And they're going to run their offense the way they run it. But to what you were saying about the way the roster is constructed, especially when Joker's out there with Julian Strawther, with even Russ, who we understand can get to the rack, but with Peyton Watson, who is showing a willingness to take more threes. I think CB kind of been in his own head of late, but he needs to take more threes.
I agree.
That needs to be the emphasis. Joker's still going to find the guy that's the most open, but you'd love to see that number go from 30 a game to 33 a game.
Yep.
Because even if you got to 33 a game, 35 a game, that's going to put you more in line with the rest of the league. Not talking about I don't call them outliers, but the teams that are on the far end at 50, 46 with the Bulls, 43 with the Cavs.
So I think we can both agree the Nuggets are very capable of being a volume 3-point shooting team. They're very capable. They have the talent. They have the skill there.
They just don't really want to.
They just don't necessarily want to, which is fine, BK, if you're not dropping games to peewees. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with them running the game how they want to run the game. I am no Coach Malone. I'm no coach at all, period.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to tap into the way the game has evolved and you're not going to buy into that, then you better be doing something else.
Well, look, they're 17 they're 17 and 13. So they've still won.
Listen,
they've still won 56% of their games playing the way they want to play. But the littlest thing, and you know, we always dig into the box score, especially when you and I do post game. If you just take a few more threes and make a few more threes that you take, that ends up typically being the difference. I don't think they've won too many games. Now, they scored 130 something points in that loss to the Cavs, but they gave up 140. It's also the first time at home they've scored 130 and lost the game since 1990-91. It's also the third time in the season they've scored 130 and lost. So the offense is working.
the defense, really.
It's that simple. If you don't want to shoot more threes, you could argue you don't have to.
I guess that's my point. If you're not going to buy into the way the game has evolved, then you've got to do something to combat the way the game has evolved.
And it can't just be that KCP.
Because Donovan Mitchell's going to drain threes in your face as long as he knows he can.
Maybe Aaron Gordon's injury is really affecting them more than we realize.
Could be.
And that makes sense for multiple reasons. One, when he's out there, just all the things he gives you.
Of course.
But also with then the rotation. And so not just needing to cover for him, but cover through for him for all 48. Not just who's starting in his place, whether that be Russ starting in the backcourt with Jamal, Peyton starting, whatever it may be. And so because defense is effort and communication, it is good to know that in theory they have that within them and that is correctable.
Yeah.
But you want to see it sustained, and you're going to be home for a bunch of games now, and they are against better opponents, but they are still potentially winnable. And so when you look, are they better than the Jazz? Absolutely. There's no reason they should lose to the Jazz tonight. Hawks, they played them tough there after a shitty loss to Washington a couple Saturdays ago, whatever that was. But then you get back-to-back with the Spurs. Winnable games, improved. You get the Celtics coming in on Tuesday. Woo. Clippers, who you've seen. This will be their third time here because of the way the wonky schedule with the...
God, I'm sick of the
I'm sure
the Clippers.
I love seeing my guy Dante Jones, former Nugget, who's on that staff. I get to see Bones.
I'm just sick of...
to see James Harden and Norman Powell, your favorite.
Oh, my gosh. Norman
player.
Powell. Our defense turns Norman Powell into freaking LeBron James.
You get the Nets coming in. That's certainly winnable. You go two games back-to-back in Big D, Monday or Sunday and Tuesday coming up.
Is that your name for Denver?
No, I call Denver the Ver. Big D is Dallas. Most people
the Ver. He's horrible.
No, but Big D is.
What's funny is I could literally see him saying
most people will call Detroit the D, and they call Dallas Big D. You went to TCU.
I absolutely hate the city of Dallas.
That's fine. Most people in Dallas think that Fort Worth is just riding their coattails. Regardless. I'm not picking on my
spoken
hometown.
like a Dallas man, native.
Yeah, you've known me a while. I'm not rocking Dallas gear all the time or super Dallas guy.
You're really not.
We're all from somewhere. I was just simply saying that's where they are. So back-to-back Sunday, Tuesday in Dallas.
Yeah,
tougher games. Rockets home. Then
Rockets not going to be an easy one either.
Then you shoot out to Florida for a couple games in Miami and Orlando.
Orlando's a good team. Miami, I mean,
and then you come back. You get Philly at home.
And let's talk really quick. I do think
going through your January schedule, but there are winnable games in there. There are tougher games in there that if you win, you're feeling better about yourself.
Well, tougher, and also those games are going to be pretty physical. I'm not sure if you guys saw Tyler Hero getting thrown like a rag doll across the floor. That was the Rockets.
Yeah, the Rockets.
Miami, they're clearly not afraid of some beef right now. They're ready to swing on just about anybody. And I'm not sure this level of physicality, it feels like this early in the season, we're seeing more fights than we normally do. And I think that's just a testament to the nature of these athletes. They're physical. They can get aggressive. And I think that's the game that they want to play. And that's, to me, one of the things lacking from this Nuggets team. Sometimes they play soft basketball and they just need to be a little bit more like in your face, a little more aggressive. Because when they are, it's pretty magic to see what they can do. And they're not soft players. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But sometimes their approach can be softer. And if that's the game that they're trying to play, fine. But defensively, we know you need effort, communication, and physicality. And I feel like we're missing that right now. Like BK said, the offense is working. To put up 134 last game and 130 plus few other times this season, their offense is working, and that doesn't really seem to be the problem. The problem seems to be the defense, that we just don't have an answer for perimeter defense, especially. And all of the teams that BK just named that we've got to see, they've got 3-point shooters on their team. So you let them get hot, you let a Norman Powell get hot, and you lose twice to the Clippers in a season when you have no business losing to the Clippers. So I think the defense part is where I would love to see the most improvement by this team. And I think they know that their defense needs work. I think Coach Malone knows their defense needs work.
They've shown this is where, as much as people get frustrated with their defensive effort, they've shown in the springtime and into the playoffs. I understand that the games with Minnesota were weird last year, especially game 6 there. But it's still a ratcheted up defensive effort. KCP was a big part of that. But you don't have to worry about defensive intensity from two guys every night, and that's CB and Russell Westbrook. I think the most confounding thing to me about Jamal and his approach to defense or physicality is, what's Jamal's favorite sport other than basketball? UFC, which is the most violent. And I understand that's different than rugby or whatever. But the point is, he likes the physicality and violence and training for MMA. What's stopping him from letting that translate on the court? Say what you want about Draymond Green and the dirty plays that he's made throughout his career. No one's ever questioned his physicality, his toughness. Go back to guys like Tony Allen.
Dylan Brooks is another good one.
Guys that are just going to get in.
Even Grayson Allen at one point. I was actually talking about this when we
There's some dirtiness
ahead
coming
of
out
the
of Duke,
Suns
but
game when I knew that he wasn't playing. I was on the phone with my mom, I think, and she's like, "Oh God, I just can't stand Grayson Allen." And I was
easy
like,
to not
he's
like.
actually simmered down. I feel quite a bit, but he used to play a style of basketball that resembled a lot of Dylan Brooks, where you're just like, you're an a-hole, dude. Like I just don't really like you. But you never questioned his intensity. You never said, I want him to bring more to the game. Like it was almost, hey, you're doing too much, back off a little. You never once questioned his intensity. So I think we just need more of that from this team. And I think this is the most vocal or obvious Jokic has been about some of the frustrations that they've had this season. So maybe they start channeling some of those frustrations, and some of them may be out of their control. Maybe Jokic is just frustrated with the fact that I really want Aaron Gordon back out here with me. I that's my guy. That's one of my guys. Like I think there's been a lot of changes, so it's hard to pinpoint what could be causing his frustration, aside from the fact that they also just weren't winning when they knew that they should be. But I think if they can channel some of that, and we're starting to see that. Did you see Russell Westbrook with the crowd? I mean, we're getting to that where they're feeling more hyped, and Jamal's playing with more energy. So maybe this is that time of year where we're going to start seeing who this team really is. And those beginning games were kind of the work in progress situation.
Yeah, and you saw with Joker post game Friday. Again, I wasn't there Saturday because I was in Cincinnati. But when I don't know if it was one of the questions I asked him, because you wait an hour for Joker, it's the way it goes. But he'll usually ask or answer all the questions that are asked to him within reason. And somebody asked, because I definitely asked about the defense and the intensity, and he just said, "I think I can do more." And he said that a few times, even when he was talking about the Clippers game. He's like, "Well, what did I do in that game?" Oh yeah, I had 40. You had 40 and triple double. But my point is, Joker doesn't do anything by accident, other than he's a little goofy here and there, and I think that stuff is organic. But when he talks about he can do more, he is hoping and praying that not only we're there grabbing it and clipping it for all the world to see, because we don't think he's very active on social media. If he is, we don't know any of his accounts, but he knows how the world works and understands that video clips are seen by everyone.
Yep.
And so when he says something like, I need to do more, he's hoping that his teammates that are all smart enough to understand this is the best player in the world. He's playing out of this world for the most part, most nights. The idea that he needs to do more is crazy. Obviously, we need to do more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing that Bo Nick says when he misses Troy Franklin. And that was actually Troy broke to the inside. Sometimes quarterbacks can be on them, but every time I ask him about why you can't connect, he's saying it. And it's not apples to apples, but the point being, when guys are saying stuff in the media and they're saying they can do more when you know they really can't.
Right.
Because he's not going to leave the paint to go close out on threes. And Jamal even said, hey, we can't leave it all on a big fella if we overplay that, because he's not Rudy Gobert as a shot blocker or DeAndre Jordan in his heyday. And even DeAndre now can still be active as a 36-year-old, but he's not going to do it for 35 minutes a game.
Right.
So hopefully Joker's teammates are hearing him say, I need to do more, and realizing, no,
we actually do.
We need to do more, because they do. But that has to be, it has to come from within, beyond the coaches beating him over the head about it. Because every time they're on the film, you can be like, yeah, you should have done these things.
Yep.
And everyone can see it in that team meeting. But the guys have to look in the mirror. Because Joker, he goes, what's it? Don't point. He's like, what? And like, point the thumb, not the finger.
Yeah.
And so he did this, like, to add to it, and kind of started laughing. It was pretty funny. But it's hard to expect that there's more for him to do.
Right. I think he's doing as much as he possibly can. And we're starting to see this Nuggets team get back on track, which is a really, really great thing. And really quickly, want to just throw this out there. Our friends over at Landmark Lincoln, BK, off of the corner of Broadway and Bellevue. They have been Colorado's #1 trusted Lincoln dealer since 1911. Okay, very, very long time. And they've got a brand new 2024 Corsair plug-in hybrid, you name it, GT, something. It's insane. So make sure you go over there and check them out. And also, you can head to landmarklincoln.com to see the latest offers and incentives that they have and see if you qualify for no payments for up to 90 days. So check out our friends at Landmark Lincoln. And also, this show presented by Trusted American Mortgage, BK. This is a very expensive time of the year. I feel like I have spent a lot of money myself, and Trusted American.
Just on wrapping paper.
Yeah, just wrapping paper alone. Trusted American is trying to help you get some better monthly payments, lower your interest rate, and we've got a QR code right here that you can scan if you're watching, and if you're listening, you just head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today. Any thoughts from you, BK, before we get out of here? Oh, tonight's game against the Jazz. Do you have any predictions? Any things that you're looking at maybe in the player prop market or things that you're thinking about for that game?
I hadn't spent much time on the props yet, but I like the Nuggets to win a second straight and maybe go on a little run here. We'll see what you get from the Spurs and the Hawks, but this feels like a stretch where they could win 4 or 5 straight before they have some, before the Celtics get here on the 7th, if you will.
Yeah.
But we know they kind of have the Jazz's number, whether it's here or in Utah, because it was the other way for a while where they could not beat the Jazz. There was a stretch with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy before things really got dialed in here a few years ago, where it felt like every time they played the Jazz, they were losing here or there. It's kind of flipped back the other way. And so they're 7.5-point favorites. I might stay away from that, but
yeah, I don't like taking them to cover anything.
It's hard to not, based on the last 2 games you've gotten from Jamal, look at his his numbers.
Let me tell you right now, the Utah Jazz allowing the most 3-pointers in the last 7 games that they have played to opposing point guards at an average of 4.68 per game. We know Jamal Murray kind of starting to heat up for this Nuggets team. And along with the 3 points that they're allowing to opposing point guards in their last 7, the Utah Jazz also allowing the second most points period to opposing point guards at 29.98. So depending on where Jamal Murray's line is, just like BK was just talking about, might not be a bad idea to check out another big game from Jamal Murray to keep himself on track, because we know he's been starting to heat up a little bit. So do you know what his line's at?
Yeah, so his over-under is 22.5.
Oh.
So if you want to go over that,
I kind of feel like
it's
I
minus
like
106. You could go all the way up to 25, and that's plus 125. MPJ 18.5, Russ 13.5, CB 12.5, Markkanen 23.5, and with no AG, that's probably not the worst bet.
Well,
on Markkanen.
Another one for you if you're wanting to bet the Nuggets from the player prop market perspective. 5th most points allowed to opposing small forwards in their last 7 games, and 3rd most threes to opposing small forwards in their last 7. So Michael Porter Jr., who again, the trade rumors started swirling, and he started to show us why he needs to be in Denver and why this team needs him so badly. I think he had 26 last game. So if you're looking at 2 players from the Denver Nuggets team to attack in this game against the Jazz, I would say you look at Jamal Murray, who's starting to heat up, and Michael Porter Jr., who's doing the same. I think going against this Utah Jazz defense that's given up so many points and 3-pointers to opposing point guards and small forwards in their last 7, this is a great time to attack players that are also getting hot at the right time. So Jamal and MPJ, wouldn't mind looking at their overs for tonight.
Yeah, your over-under threes, just kind of for your top guys. Joker 1.5, and we know that can go either way.
Yeah.
But Jamal at 2.5 plus 114. If you want to look at 3 or more, that goes to plus 115. Oh, because over 2.5 and 3 are the same.
Yeah.
But you might as well do 3 or more.
Yeah.
If you're going to bet that and get one more.
Yeah. Tiny little bit of better odds increment there.
Yeah. And MPJ is also 2.5 is minus 111, minus 110 on 3 or more. So those are probably worth peeking at if you're getting into the prop biz. But I like him to go there and win, and I like him to just start showing us a little bit better defense. But again, the stretch of games here, you get Jazz tonight, New Year's night, home against the Hawks, New Year's Day night, home against the Hawks.
Yep.
Wemby and company Friday, then at the Spurs Saturday, and then Tuesday the Celtics. So they could rip off 5 in a row, be feeling a lot better. They're sitting at 17 and 13, which actually doesn't sound bad record-wise, but the West is so dang good. That's 7th. So you're behind the Clippers again. Yep. You're behind the Lakers. You're behind the Mavs. They're only 2 games behind the Mavs, who are in 4th. You're 3 games behind the Rockets. You're going to see them, so you could totally flip that. Be the first time you see Houston. That's coming up here on this next stretch of games. But they can certainly get things going tonight in Utah. And what you'd love to see against just a bad Utah team that's trying to figure it out, but it's just 7 wins on the year. and that's why I realized the Pelicans only have 5. That makes that Pelicans loss hurt even more.
Yeah.
Is that by the time you go to the fourth quarter, Joker can just sit. Not that he needs the rest, but that you don't need Joker and Jamal in the game late.
Right.
That you're in good enough shape that Jalen Pickett can run the whole
last part of
the fourth quarter.
That's exactly what I said following that Suns game that I went to, was these convincing wins by this Nuggets team are very important for them to start getting on a more consistent basis, because it does allow some wiggle room, not only to rest your starters, but also to see the talent that we still have on this bench. Jalen Pickett in that game was awesome from the 3-point line, and he was defensive player of the game. Those are things you can't see until you get enough wiggle room that you can play Jalen Pickett in some true minutes in a basketball game. So the more convincing and comfortable wins that this Nuggets team can get, the better off they're going to be, because we're going to be able to play our bench in real games against real teams, and hopefully see that there's some progress there and that there's some depth there, because I know that's a concern across most Nuggets fans. So either way, Nuggets on the road tonight taking on the Utah Jazz. They've got a pretty long week and quite a few, 8 total home games for the Denver Nuggets in the month of January. So we'll keep you covered. Of course, even when they're on the road, we'll find a way to keep you updated on all things Denver Nuggets. This has been presented by Trusted American Mortgage, another episode of Guerilla Sports Off Court. I'm Liv Moods. That's Brennan Krisztal. And we will see you next year.
See you next year on Off Court. See you tonight, post-game.
Yes, I got you covered for post-game. We will do a post-game live reaction show from my home studio. We'll talk about all things. We'll see if our bets cashed. We'll see how many positive things Liv Moods has to say about this Nuggets team. Hopefully they do their jobs, get a dub. We'll see you tonight, and then you'll see both of us in the new year. Bye.
See you next year.